Hey, hello everybody. We've got a quick update here on some miracles, and there goes Ms. Miracle. On two miracles that happened this week. It's really, really exciting. So I hope that you're really encouraged with this. So neither miracle was asked for or prayed for. They just happened. So apparently, God is still in the business of doing miracles, even when, and it's grace because you get something you don't deserve. And it happened to Cuddles. Unfortunately, she just ran off. I don't know if she'll come back and join us. She's feeling so good she ran off. But so Cuddles had been for about 6 months getting skinnier and skinnier to the point where she was just skin and bones no matter what we did. And we were sure it was hyperthyroidism. It's really common in older cats. And so we finally figured we'd take her into the vet to get some blood work to, just have a baseline to double check. And on the way there, I had her running loose in the car because she doesn't mind being in the car at all. And she just all of a sudden, she's running around, checking things out. And all of a sudden, she just jumps over the seat, sits on the armrest, and just looks at me and sits the rest of the way there. It was kind of like she went, not worried about going to the vet.
Yeah, because usually what she does on car rides is she hides underneath the car seats.
Yeah.
Or she constantly is running around because she's like stressed or whatever. Like she never really settles down, and she does. It has to be in a tight spot somewhere, between your legs.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So she's like extra calm and chill. In fact, Mike met me at the vet's office and she cuddled up next to him on the seat and went to sleep. She just didn't care that she was even there. And so the vet came in. The vet said, "Ooh, yeah, definitely. I would diagnose her just looking at her with hyperthyroidism, but we'll take the blood work and all that." And said we'll get back to you tomorrow with it. So we did that, and she comes back, and we drive home, and she's just sitting on the armrest, like none of this bothered her at all, which was honestly unusual. So we didn't think anything of that, and the next day we got the call from the vet, and actually it was her assistant, and she goes, "Well, her blood work's all normal." And I went, "What?" I go, "That's not possible." I go, "Did you get, is it messed up? Is it someone else's?" And she said, "No, it's Cuddles, and her everything is fine." Well, and she's like, "Just consider it a healing, I guess." And
She said there was no hyperthyroidism whatsoever.
yeah, it was like completely 100% textbook normal. So it's kind of like the cat knew, and it's only been, I think, 4 or 5 days, and she's probably put on a pound. She's filled out.
More than a pound.
Yeah, we can actually feel her when she lands on us now. And
she's honestly bigger than she's ever been, I think.
it's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
how quickly she's recovering. So we were just, kind of excited about that, and we talked about it. And we go, "Did we ever pray for her?" Normally it's the first thing we do, but it's like we've been too busy. I mean, we've been really, really busy. It hadn't occurred to us.
Yeah, like at best we probably prayed for her like a month or two ago.
Yeah.
When it first started, but not in recent time.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where clearly she was healed with nobody asking. I guess that was what she was praying for in the car. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting. So, that was miracle number one. Miracle number two hit me. And it's, if you've watched some of my past videos or on Facebook, you kind of know my testimony. I'll go really quickly over it because it's important as to the date that this healing occurred. So, when I was 8 years old, we had just come back from the Eastern Bloc, Russia, Germany, Berlin, that thing with as missionaries. And I was crossing the street and was hit by a car. This was like a 65 or 64 or something like that Ford truck. And he was doing 40 when he hit me. My 8-year-old body goes into the ditch, splat. And with my injuries and things, they said I would never walk again. They actually, when I woke up from the coma, came in, brought in a wheelchair, said you need to get used to it, physical therapy, all that. You're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. And I had total amnesia, so I didn't remember any of our, and I still don't, any of our adventures in Switzerland and Germany and Russia, but I think my spirit did. And I went, "Nope, I will never get in that wheelchair, and I'll be walking in a year." And of course, this is in '83, so I believe HBO was new, and they were only showing like pretty much Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 over and over and over. And I would just crawl into the living room, not even crawl, I would drag myself because I couldn't feel my legs. and watch Rocky movies like over and over and over to get really motivated. And I became convinced that if I could just like make my big toe move, that I could um, get the use of my legs. And of course, I had parents who were anything but encouraging. In fact, I got in trouble for trying. And so one day I realized, I think I dropped something on my foot and I realized I felt pain. And just in a small amount, and I went, if I can feel pain, I can use that to move. So, long story short, for my entire life, the only reason I walk is to feel pain. I have to concentrate on any kind of pain I can manufacture in my legs. And when I get tired at night, I'll kind of, it gets harder and it's very taxing. Like, I can't describe this, but like walking is automatic or breathing is automatic. You don't have to think about every muscle. I do. I have to think about every muscle and pain in every muscle going down to my toes. So my husband and I were, and like I said, I always credited within a year I did walk. In fact, I ran barely within a year, and it was to see a cow get slaughtered. My friends were all like, "Hey, cow's getting slaughtered." I didn't want to see that, but they ran away from me, and I wasn't going to be left alone holding onto a fence on the side of the road. So I kind of did baby steps and went. But I always credited Sylvester Stallone with having a huge impact on my being able to walk again. So he's kind of a hero of mine. Well, on his birthday this week, so that's why it's so important, I was just driving with my husband to Henrietta, Oklahoma. We had a quick run for his job, and I thought, well, we'll just, I'll spend 2 hours with my husband. I never get to anymore. And so as we're driving, my legs went numb. And when I say numb, he says I need to explain this because my numb is different than your numb. They were 100% without pain. I couldn't feel anything. At first, I went, uh-oh, I'm not going to be able to walk. I was like, what am I going to do? And I sort of panicked, and then God just said, no, hold on. Can you move your feet? And I looked down at my feet, and I'm moving my toes, and I'm moving my ankles, and I don't know how I'm doing it. And I'm kind of freaking out at this point. I'm yelling at my husband. I'm like, my legs are numb, but I can move them, and he doesn't have any idea what I'm talking about. And this whole time, there's this feeling of like when you walk slowly into a cold lake, this cold kept coming up and down my legs in waves. And by the time we got there, I went, it's still happening. They're still completely numb, but I'm moving everything. At that point, I'm touching my legs lightly to see if I can feel a sensation, and I'm feeling sensations like tickling or itching I've never felt in my legs. And I'm kind of freaking out.
Well, also, I think the best way to explain the numbness is because you've been in pain your entire life.
I was without pain.
Yeah, so imagine if your legs were actually on fire, like set ablaze, and you dealt with that your entire life. Your constant feeling of burning, and suddenly that fire was put out. Your legs aren't actually numb; it's just they're no longer on fire. Imagine the intensity of the fire. Suddenly you're wet and not on fire.
I told my husband it felt like I'd been floating around in a lake for a while. That feeling you get in your legs. So, anyways, I'm getting all these sensations I'm not used to having, but I know what they are because I have them in other parts of my body. And so I said, we get to our destination. I'm like, well, here we go. We're gonna find out. And I flip open the door, turn over, put my feet on the ground. I'm like, so far so good. And it was like learning to walk again, but it happened like so quick that by the time we got out, I was hopping and skipping over, like the things they have in the parking lot to stop your car. And it was so easy. And I'm just going, this is crazy. And then it hit me in the car. I'm like, I didn't even ask for this. Honestly, I never even thought about asking. I was so grateful to be able to walk at all. And I've always used it as a testimony. And I thought, if God did this and I didn't even ask for it, what else will he do for the things I ask for all the time? I was just like, it's grace. And then and it was on the way home that I think a song came on from Rocky 4 from Survivor, and I went, oh, what day is it today? And I remember I had seen Sylvester Stallone's birthday on my timeline, and so I pulled it up on Facebook, looked it up, and sure enough, I go, oh my gosh, there is no coincidences. And it's his 75th birthday. This is important too because I was born in 75. Hey, now you know. But I actually told him this story once, and we did the math, and he kind of came up with the story over 3 days about the time I was conceived. Not saying, hey, it's all about me, because those movies have touched so many people. There's so many inspiring stories. My son Gabe is actually named after his character in Cliffhanger. We actually, he was supposed to be named something else. My whole life I said if I have a son, I'll name him, and this is a whole nother story. But I was gonna name him something else, and we still hadn't decided for some reason.
I haven't heard that story yet.
I guess we could tell it because it goes along with it. But
oh, really?
You were supposed to be named Nathaniel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Nathaniel was my best friend before we went to Germany. Like we were like finished each other's sentences, best buds, and he was awesome. And he was like preaching on street corners at 8. Like he was one of these guys that was gonna tear it up for the Lord. You just knew it. And he got brain cancer, and really quite severely, very fast spreading. And so all of our, this is my best friend. He's sick. He's dying, and the whole church is praying for him on a constant basis. And I only knew, I didn't even remember him quite when I woke up out of the coma. But before I had gone to the coma, 3 days before I was hit by the car, he was miraculously healed of the cancer. Documented brain scans. They said he's healed. So the church had been celebrating, and then I get hit by the car. So again, the church is in stress. And he basically had heard what happened to me, and they said, I wasn't going to make it. And he said, Lord, take me, and he died that night. So he gave his life for me. Obviously, it means a lot. So I had always promised, because he had so much more to give than I did. I was sure at that time my life wasn't anywhere where his would be, and he would have accomplished more than I ever did, I thought. I lived every day of my life that somebody gave their life for me. And when you think about Jesus, people don't have that. People have gone to war that have had somebody die for them. They have that experience. It changes your life. You live because you're now living for somebody else. And I think if you get that picture with Jesus, it would. So now I live for two people, but you get the picture that it's totally different when you're living somebody else's life. And I know when I die and go to heaven, I have to answer to two people. So that's why you were supposed to be named Nathaniel. So
yeah.
We had always discussed it, when I found out I could have kids, even though we weren't supposed to. My husband's like, yeah, we'll name our first son Nathaniel. So 2 weeks before he's due, we still hadn't, for some reason, it just didn't fit. I was like, I don't know. We hadn't made the permanent decision yet. And we were watching Cliffhanger, and I go, Gabe. And we were like, yeah, because Mike goes, who's the second most important person in your life, that you owe your life to? I'm like, Sylvester Stallone. I'm like, we'll name him Gabe. No, we thought Sylvester. But then we're like, everyone's going to go, is it the cat or, Rambo? So we're like, we thought about making your middle name Sylvester. It was all that things, but, I was like, I think God ordains a name. And so, like I said, it was very important to me. So the fact that all this lined up, on those kind of dates and things like that was very interesting. And actually, Mike had me look this up. So I'm 46, and he's like, what does 46 mean? And I think it was apropos too. That's 36. Well, he knew what it was. I'd have to look it up. What's 40? So 40 is trials, probations, and testing, and then 6 is evils of Satan, manifestation of sin. Well, anyways, like basically that, it's kind of like those had been erased, so by this healing, it's
basically overcoming the trials of Satan and whatnot.
Yeah, and what he meant for bad. So again, I didn't ask for it. I'm still in shock, and I'm still completely, I get up this morning, and it's first, I'm having to go do all the farm chores and stuff, and I'm like, this is so different. But now I have to experience the itching of bugs and bug bites all over my legs. And I'm like, oh, and normally they burn a little bit. Now they're itchy, so I was like, oh, yeah. So I think the mosquitoes have clearly won. out here. I think it's the new national, Oklahoma State bird. But yeah, so we had two miracles this week in the family that were never asked for, and
Were
not
spontaneous and like apparent. Like they weren't like maybe it was like, oh, this is an extreme change.
yeah.
It's a very sudden opposite of what it was.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see what happens. And then, of course, I realize I'm like, oh man, what's God going to make me do now? It's like there's always a price to pay. Not that the healing and gifts are free, but in my case, it always seems like something more is going to be demanded of me, and I'm okay with that. It's like we'll just see where it goes. But I wanted to encourage you guys. God is still in the business of doing miracles, and people out there will tell you you've got to pray for them, you got to have faith, you got to fast, you got to do all these things. You might have sin in your life. Well, I don't think our cat could have done any of those things. So I think he just loves her. And also my friend Bonzi has prayed for her so many times. She's had health crises. It was also Bonzi's birthday when she got healed. So
well, also Bonzi didn't know about the situation.
She did not. Yeah,
which
she'll know now.
Yeah, which also means she didn't pray for her this time. She's healed her before through prayer, but this time she didn't even know to pray for her in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, it happened spontaneously with no real clear indication what caused it.
Yeah, so just want to encourage you, it's possible. It's not that we're that special that we deserve 2 miracles in 1 week. It's been absolutely shocking, and praise God, and we love him so much for doing that. And we just wanted to encourage you guys. So it's kind of a short video. We'll get this up. Certainly comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say and share, just to encourage your friends and your loved ones. God bless.
Bye.